arts tie into religion, and how can it bring our community closer together? That's the key question we will discuss today with our guest, Mafren Santoki. Mafren is a Zoroastrian from Southern California. She is an instrumental music teacher and professional flute player. She has performed solo flute in the 2014 and 2019 LA Congresses, and she's also played with the World Zoroastrian Orchestra in Houston, New York, and Los Angeles. She's an active member of the Zoroastrian Association of California, and she also enjoys serving and supporting her community. So I'm really excited to have our guest here today to speak. Thank you everybody for joining. If you guys get the chance, please type in the comments below, let us know where you're from. And there's Mafren. She'll join us in a second. There we go.
Hi.
Hi, Mafren. Thank you so much for joining today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
We're so happy. I'm so happy that people are attending. Again, everyone, please write down below where you're from. We would love to know. So Mafren, let's just jump right into it. I know you prepared lots to talk today. So my first question for you is, how do the arts show up in other religions, for example? And then can you tie in how it shows up in our own religion, Zoroastrianism?
Yeah, so actually, that is what kind of got me really thinking about this whole topic is how the arts tie into other religions. So here in the United States, I'm a musician personally, as Tanya said. The second largest employer of musicians is actually churches. So first is the military, and then second is churches. And I've been hired for so many church gigs and church services that I've really gotten a chance to see how the arts and music tie into their religion. And it's very, very different from ours because to Christians, music, art is actually sacred. So it's not just for entertainment value, it's not just for community value, it's actually sacred. It's something that is important to them and their religion. And that's what really got me thinking. So what do we as Zoroastrians have, and why is it that it's not as large a part of our community as it is for some other religions and some other communities? So for example, church music, even non-Christians are going to go and attend concerts to see maybe a mass being performed or a
Mhm.
requiem being performed by a professional like orchestra or choir or something. Like, you don't have to be a Christian to appreciate it because it holds artistic value as well. For them, religious value, but for us, just artistic value. You might go to a museum and you see like paintings like the Last Supper. People have been going for decades, for centuries, to go and see that one painting of this biblical scene because it holds artistic value. Or you go into a chapel and you see the beautiful artwork on the ceilings and the painted ceilings like the Sistine Chapel, and it holds artistic value. You don't have to be of that religion to appreciate those things.
Definitely.
As Zoroastrians, we don't have that. We do actually have hymns, we have religious songs, and we do try to tie it into our community for camaraderie and community value, but it kind of ends there. So for example, many of us, when we were children, when we were part of our communities, we might have taken part in a play that maybe we performed for our community that sort of depicted maybe a scene from Zoroastrianism. Maybe you were in a play where they depicted that scene with the sugar and the milk and the boat coming in from St. John or something like that. And it's great community value. It's great for the kids. They make friends. They have fun. It's great for people to see, but it's not necessarily something you're going to share with your out of town relatives, or you're going to share on Instagram or on Facebook and everyone's going to want to watch it. Yeah, they might want to support your community, like, oh, the kids of this community are so cute, let's support them. But it really sort of ends there. There's not really artistic value to it. People don't really watch it for any value other than just supporting and maybe learning something new. So this kind of got me thinking, is why is it like that? We have talent in our community. We have the potential to do the same kind of things that other religions are doing. So talking about music, us as Zoroastrians, we actually do have religious music. We have hymns. They're called monajats. The only one that people really know is Chaya Mejardosti. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones that people haven't even really heard. And we do out here hear them performed in our communities. It's usually the older people, they get together and they sing them, and it's fun. It's great for them, but it sort of ends there. Like it's not really something that holds artistic value. Usually it's just singing for fun. They're usually singing along to the most outdated, like kind of cheesy karaoke tracks in the background. They're just really not updated at all. So I really would love to see somewhere along the line Zoroastrians taking this up to the next level. Like, why have these music tracks never been redone? Why has no one ever really taken this on as a project? Like, why are we still kind of just doing what we already had for decades and decades and not really revamping it? And that's really what has gotten me thinking. And I think it's very doable because we have talent in our community.
So
We
much.
have artists, we have musicians, we have maybe playwrights, we have actors. But as far as my knowledge goes, nobody has really taken this to the next level. For me personally, the most, like I'd say, updated, sophisticated version of Chaya Mejardosti I've ever played was actually at the Congresses when I performed with the World Zoroastrian Orchestras. Our encore piece was Chaya Mejardosti. We played it with the orchestra, and the crowd loved it. They went crazy. They like jumped to their feet because they never
Mhm.
heard it in this kind of a setting before. We've only ever heard those really outdated kind of old CDs. You can even hear like the scratch of the CD in the background, tracks being played at our functions. And now we suddenly hear it in this new, fresh kind of updated version. And it relates to people more. It speaks to people more. Like, I really wish we had a recording of that we could be using to play at our functions and stuff. But I mean, it wasn't recorded, it was like a live performance. So, all this got me thinking is what can we do as a community in order to use what we have and use our talents? Because firsthand, I have seen what the arts do to bring people together. The I guess emotional value, the camaraderie value, it really brings people together, and we don't have that. So
Mhm.
that is something that I really would want to look into farther, and it really got me thinking, what can we do? So I just want to give like a little short example of when I saw the arts really bringing another community together. So the orchestra I play in has kind of a religious connotation. The directors are Mormon, and a lot of Mormon people play in that orchestra.
Mhm.
And what they do, we do a Christmas concert every year. Once again, Christmas, you don't have to be a Christian to go and appreciate Christmas music or that holiday. So we were once performing some version of a hymn that honestly don't even remember the name of it. I don't even know what it was. It was beautiful, but for whatever reason, the crowd just went crazy after this. They jumped to their feet. Some of the musicians who were playing along with me said that they were in tears as they were playing it. And I didn't really get it. I'm like, so what was it about this piece? It was beautiful, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. But what was it about this Christian hymn that really just got people so emotional? And I was just talking to people, and they said things like, oh, we used to sing it in church back in the day. And then one girl said, like, she was so emotional. She was like almost playing wrong notes because she was just, it took her back to this place. And I would be so surprised if 20, 30 years down the line, this happened with Zoroastrians. I just can't see a situation in which a bunch of Zoroastrians or even non-Zoroastrians are going to play a piece of music or present a piece of art that's just going to move people to tears and take them back. I just don't see it happening. And that's kind of sad. Like, why? What can we do to really use these arts to get people emotional, thinking back to maybe another time and good times when they all used to share this music together? So I would really encourage anyone who is in this field, whether you're a musician or a composer or a painter or a playwright or an actor or a musical theater sort of person, is use themes from our religion, use maybe whatever your art is in order to do something with it. Like, if you're a composer, we would love to see our monajats, our hymns, our
Mhm.
old songs being rearranged for a more modern, sophisticated setting. And it doesn't have to be traditional. It can be like a jazz version. It can be like a pop version or a country version. That's what the Christians are doing. I personally, I have played a church, like a hard rock church service. I have played full on orchestral church services. I have played just kind of easy listening background music kind of church services. And their congregations love it. It doesn't need to be just your kind of play the melody, play a simple harmony. It can be completely redone, like that orchestral version that I played.
Hmm.
Like I would love to see like a jazz CD of Zoroastrian songs, something
That'd be
like
so
that.
cool.
That
That would
would
be
be really
amazing.
cool. It'd be really cool, and it would be current. It would be relevant. I feel like
Hmm.
that younger people, youth, would actually want to listen to that. Maybe even play it for their friends. They'd want to show them like, "Hey, this is my religious music." No one's going to show what we have right now just because it's so outdated. It's not really been it's just
Hmm.
not been sophisticated in any way. Artists can definitely paint or depict scenes from just from the religion. I'm sure
Hmm.
there's Parsi households, Zoroastrian households that would love to have Zoroastrian art in their own homes.
Hmm.
Like our Farohar is such a beautiful symbol. You look at the Christians, they have a cross. It's the simplest thing in the world, and they still manage to make it beautiful. They still manage
Hmm.
to do all kinds of artistic things with it. So we could, like, if there is an artist who maybe specializes in modern abstract art, they can use that in order to give a fresh new approach to some of our Zoroastrian scenes. I was this last month when we had our mukbads, I feel like every association was posting pictures of the flowers on the table. I feel that could be beautiful artwork. Like somebody could put their own spin on like one of those scenes of the flowers sitting on the table.
That'd be so
There's
nice.
just, it would be beautiful, right? Like I'm sure
Hmm.
there'd be Zoroastrian households that would love to have that. I was thinking a lot about plays and musicals as well. And this is another thing that Christians have that you don't have to be Christian to appreciate. Like if you go onto Broadway, there's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is a biblical
Yep.
story. There's
Hmm.
Jesus Christ Superstore, which is a biblical story. One of my actual favorite musicals ever is Book of Mormon,
Me
which
too.
is, I mean, it's raunchy, it's vulgar, it's inappropriate,
I've
and it's
watched it
just,
3 times.
oh, I'm jealous of you. I've only watched it once.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. And like you have all these people. I had to wait 7 years to buy a ticket at a reasonable price that wasn't scalped up to $500.
Oh yeah.
And I learned a thing or two about the Mormon religion watching that, even though it
Hmm.
was a parody, even though it was like a comedy. So when I see the plays that we do in our communities, why hasn't somebody taken it to the next level? I mean, I'm not saying it needs to end up on Broadway the way these shows did, but why not really maybe have a playwright or an English major write a good script that is maybe a parody, maybe a comedy, maybe just uses the theme of the Zoroastrian story into the play so that people are really inclined to watch it, and then invest some
Hmm.
money in good costumes and good props and scenery, and then share that video on social media, share the script so that another community can do that same production as well. And it may not turn into something that you're showing your non-Zoroastrian friends and ends up on stage, but if it could even be something within the Zoroastrian community, like if I were to go to a congress and I was to
Hmm.
run into you and be like, hey, back in the day I performed in that one play, and you might be like, I did that same one in Toronto, or we watched that in Toronto. It could be something just amongst the different communities, and that would be just so nice to see. It brings people together. It adds community value and companionship. So I
Hmm.
would really just love to see our talent and the arts we already have. We have great stories in our religion, like the story of the sugar and the milk and St. John. That's a great story. It could be turned into a great production or a movie, or the stories from the Shahnameh. It can make beautiful art. It can make beautiful music, beautiful plays, beautiful musicals. But no one's really done it yet. And so that's something that I just always wonder about. And it's like, why? Why can we not take this to the next level? Why is nobody doing this?
Wow, you
Yeah.
mentioned so many good points. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, if I could, if I had all the money in the world, I would get
Mhm.
all the most talented artists in our community, be like, here, make this, please, make this.
Yeah.
Because you said so many good things. I totally agree. We need, I mean, just imagine Zoroastrianism, the musical. Like, how cool would
Yeah.
that be? And you're right, it's going to make especially younger people in our religion more interested in learning about our stories. And I think
Hmm.
at the end of the day, storytelling is what brings communities together. And I think the arts is stories.
Hmm.
Like we do tell stories and they tell it in different ways, whether it's music or it's paintings or it's movies or
Hmm.
musicals, for example. Even dancing. I mean, we
Yeah,
have people in all of these categories that are
right.
Zoroastrian. I've seen like their talent, I've seen the videos, and we have them. It's just a matter of
Hmm.
coming together and creating a piece of work that we can release and say, hey, these are our stories.
Absolutely,
Um,
yeah. And it
mhm.
obviously is something that's much easier said than done. Obviously, in order to make something, it takes a lot of time, a lot of talent. There have to be people willing to do it. It takes money, it takes resources.
Mhm.
And then, of course, when anyone tries to do something new and fresh like this, it's going to be controversial. There's
Yeah.
going to be people who don't like it. If somebody released a hard rock CD of Zoroastrian themes, there's going to be people who don't like that. There's going to be people who might maybe even a little offended by it.
Mhm.
And a lot of these things do stop people from wanting to move forward. Is why would I do something if it's not going to be well appreciated? And
Mhm.
especially in this day of social media, where it's so easy to just make comments behind a screen, sometimes we tend to forget that there's a real person sitting behind this that has worked really hard and maybe poured their heart and soul into it. So I think that's one of the things that maybe stops people is they just think they're going to put all this time and effort in, not going to be well received, and that's a very real concern. I also think as Zoroastrians and as a community, we could do more to support each other in the arts. We're definitely a very supportive community. There's no question about that. Whenever somebody needs help or somebody needs assistance with anything, we're super supportive community. But I have noticed, compared my Zoroastrian friends compared to my American friends, the Americans are just way more supportive of the arts and supporting their friends for the arts.
Mhm.
So, for example, if I were to be playing an orchestra concert and I were to tell my Zoroastrian friends about it, I get a lot more of, oh, yeah, orchestra, not really my thing, not really interested. Whereas my American friends are much more like, not really my thing, but it's you, and I want to come out and
Mhm.
support you. So I think that's something we could do better in our community. And I'm not saying this like it's always this way. There's some very, very supportive Zoroastrians in this sense as well. So if you're watching and you have supported me, thank you. I'm not saying you haven't. Definitely not saying that. But in general, I feel like we could do a little better in this case. Like, let's say an artist decides to paint a bunch of depictions of Zoroastrian scenes. A lot of people might just be like, not really my thing. I don't have place for it in my house. I mean, if
Mhm.
you can afford to support them, I would still say support them, and then maybe just give it as a gift or give it to your centers or your halls to hang up or whatever. But try to just support for the sake of supporting. It's something I see much, much more in the American community than I do in the Zoroastrian community,
Mhm.
which can really help farther some of these things and just take it a step ahead.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I should mention actually is that Fazana has an arts scholarship. So we do give it to anybody who is creating works of art. And specifically, if you're creating works of art for the community, we have an actual monetary scholarship, and you don't have to currently be in school to receive it. So whether you're creating, say, an art piece, music, film, so I do recommend just kind of check that out, and I'll advertise it. But I think that'd be a cool way. It's just a small
Yeah.
initiative to encourage people to create something artistic that
Mm-hmm.
involves our community somehow.
Yeah, I
But
actually
you,
got that scholarship like
oh
10
yeah,
years ago, 10, 15
oh
years ago,
amazing,
like in
congrats.
2009, I think I got that scholarship. So yeah, apply for it.
Hmm.
It's a great thing that they're doing to support artists. And oh, I was going to say something else, but I forgot.
No, that's
So
okay.
yeah.
But I was gonna say, like, I would hope that more people and organizations kind of support the arts, like whether it's
Mhm.
monetary or just like, sharing and bringing a spotlight to cool things that people in our community are doing, where they're sharing our religion, our history, our culture, one way or another through the arts.
Yeah,
And people in the
definitely.
comments have agreed as well. So,
Oh, that's great to hear. I have to
mhm.
say, I love how ZAGNY did the logo competition for their Congress,
Yes.
where they had just a competition to design the logo that they used in the Congress. I heard they got a lot of entries. It was very
Hmm.
successful. They got a beautiful logo out of it. That's just a
Hmm.
small way you can encourage and inspire artists. But once again, it's just another thing that it sort of ends there. What could we do to take it to the next level, make it long lasting, make it something that people are going to be looking at, viewing, listening to, talking about for much longer than just the purpose of what it was used for.
Hmm. Definitely. And I really hope that down the road we have things that we can share. I mean, I'm going to say it again, please. Someone make Zoroastrianism the musical happen. I would pay so much money to attend that. But
Absolutely.
even plays, like I know we have our nataks,
Yeah.
but I think those are primarily in Gujarati.
Mhm.
But those are also a really great form of art and just
Yeah.
sharing culture.
Mhm.
And I just want to see more things like that. I think that's what engages people. I think people are more likely to attend when it's like a music performance or it's
Mhm.
a movie or any kind of artistic thing, because that's fun. You know, we
Yeah.
attend those things because we enjoy them. And if there's a story involved, I think we're more likely to remember it if it's
Mhm.
through the arts than rather than just being told to us.
Right. Yeah, definitely. The Nathics are a great example of something I think we do a really good job with promoting our arts.
Hmm.
Out here in California, we actually did a fundraiser Nathak where we got a Nathak in from Houston and sold tickets to the Gujarati community because they actually love our Nathaks as well. So that's a great thing. Another thing I feel we're very artistic about is our jewelry and our saris and our garas.
Hmm.
The embroidery on the garas, that typical Parsi embroidery, that's something that is handed down through generations. Like it's beautiful, it's very intricate, and it's very Parsi. That would be what something I consider Parsi art and something that is
Hmm.
well appreciated through different communities all over the world. That would be a great example of when we do very well in this matter. So like the jewelry and the garas and all.
We have a comment from someone watching. They said,
Sure.
art will carry us forward. I think that's really
Yes,
well said.
I love that. I really love
Yeah.
that. It brings people together, it carries us forward, and it's something that lasts. It never really goes away. It lasts, and it's the language of art is universal. So if I were to meet somebody in India or in Dubai or in London or Australia, New Zealand, anywhere, we all share the same kind of arts, and we all kind of appreciate it in the same way.
I totally agree. I mean, you brought up so many good points, Mafren. Thank you so
Thank
much. I
you.
think there's so much for everyone to kind of start thinking about. And I'm hoping people who watch this or share it with others who are artists in any form, please do consider, you know, getting involved and creating pieces of art that shares our history, shares our culture, and keeps our religion alive. You know, ultimately, we're going to be kept alive through stories down the road. So, like, please, please, please put in that time if you can and create works of art that we can all be proud of and share. And again, Fazana does have an art scholarship, so please consider going on our website, fazana.org, and do look through those. And I will make a advertisement at some point when you can start applying. Mafren, thank you so much. Is there
Thank
anything you kind
you.
of want to end off on saying? And I also
Um,
want you to give people a chance to kind of find out how they can get in touch with you after this.
Oh, absolutely. So the most important thing that I would want to leave you with is that if you are an artist, don't be scared to take this leap forward. Personally, I'm a flute player. I'm not a composer, so I don't really write music. But if somebody wrote music and they wanted me to play on it, I would be more than happy to do that. So collaborate, do that kind of thing. And if you're not an artist, support. Even if it's not really your thing, even if you're not so sure, just support for the sake of supporting. We need that, and that's what a lot of other communities do very, very well that we can learn from.
Hmm.
In terms of how to contact me, I think social media is best. My Instagram and my Facebook. So my name, Mahfrin Santok, MAHFRIN SANTOKE. Type that in into social media. That should have me pop up, and I could always just share my number or my email through that if we want to continue discussing farther.
We have a quick question. Someone asked,
Sure.
will you share some of your favorite musical pieces? I want to learn more. Great job.
Oh, my favorite musical pieces. I'm assuming from Zoroastrianism. The only one that people really know is Chaya Meja Dosti. And I had performed this with a whole bunch of other musicians in our community, Zach Community Talent
Hmm.
Show, when I was in high school. And I've seen other communities do it. And I performed it with WZO. So that would be the one that everybody knows and that everybody talks about. And I really wish we had good recordings of it, but I don't think that we do. And that's another thing is when it is performed, it's got to be saved. It's got to be
Yeah.
like it's got to be shared. So that's maybe, something we need to think about too is having good recordings of these things.
I totally agree. I hope
Mm-hmm.
that we can save all these pieces of works and
Mm-hmm.
arts, essentially. That's how we share our
Yeah,
stories.
that's how we
Thank you,
share stories.
Mafren.
Of course.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having me.
Of course, such a pleasure. And thank you everybody for attending and your questions. We will
Uh-huh.
have this full video uploaded for everyone to watch later. Thank you, Mafrin.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.